The second of this year's candidates to be Athletic Union President joins me now. Sam Winton, thank you for chatting to Station.
No problem, thank you for having me.
Absolute pleasure. So how's the campaign been treating you so far?
It's been fun. I've really enjoyed talking to people online. I wish it was in person, but I'm sure everyone feels the same. Getting to grips with technology has definitely been an experience during COVID, and I wasn't particularly technically savvy before we started, so...
I think we've also only got A stars in A-level ICT after the end of this for sure. Let's talk about your manifesto though. Let's face it, Sam, it's like the manifesto equivalent of War and Peace. It is huge. And for comparative purposes, I sort of timed reading yours and reading Dylan's and Jess's. Yours takes more than twice as long, certainly for me at least, to read than their two. So talking from a student's perspective, from a voter's perspective, do you really think they're going to be bothered to read that entire manifesto?
I was very conscious of that from the beginning, and that's why page 2 is just bullet points, what I want to do, what I want to pledge. And so people can just read page 2 and know what I'm about. But I also think that people care so much about sport that they deserve the detail and deserve the sort of length that I went to. And that's sort of why I was so expansive on a lot of my points, is I felt like people deserved that sort of that detail and that level of analysis. And I am conscious that that's not for everyone. So I've tried to cater to everyone. I've tried to make sure that you can just skim read and get the general gist, but you can also sort of really get down to the nitty gritty and the details and get to know me, because a lot of it is about why I want to do these things and how I want to do these things.
Okay, well, let's speak about you on a slightly more personal level, not quite talking about your character just yet. But as we've spoken on Station before, you are the founder of a charity called Here for Sport, whose focus is very much on making sport accessible and affordable for those that can't access it or afford it for a multitude of different reasons. And we established even then that you've started work on numerous projects. We had a bit of a disagreement on this, but I was convinced, and I remain convinced, that you've started a lot of projects. You've not really finished anything yet. You've not really concretely achieved anything. And you made the argument that a lot of these projects take a number of years or a very, very long time to really come to fruition. You're only going to get a year in office as AU president. Nothing about your track record so far actually suggests that you're capable of achieving anything in just 1 year. So how do you plan on doing that?
I think I disagree with that on a number of levels, in that my track record as volunteering and engagement officer shows how much I can achieve in a year and how much I can get done. As volunteering and engagement officer, I've ran active listening training for all the wellbeing officers and upskilled many clubs in how to deal with mental health issues. I've set up and founded Saints Peer Support this year, and we're about to launch into the application period for that once elections are over. I've done a lot in this year and helped achieve the Silver Charter in the LGBTQ plus group and worked with Saint Sport on that. There's been a lot that I've achieved in just a year within my post as volunteering and engagement officer, let alone what I could achieve in a year as AU president. What I think you're referring to is sort of Here for Sport's societal aims and the wider issues of widening access and participation. And that takes mass change. That takes not just University of St Andrews, that takes national and international change. And that's something I will continue to fight for, whether I'm AU president or not, because it's something I really believe in and I'm passionate about. And I'm really glad that the Saint Sports community has evolved over time. And I want to be part of that evolution as AU president and help that evolution forward and strengthen the community here and make sure we are a part of that broader movement and that broader change.
But if all of that experience is relevant, why is none of that in your manifesto? Why are the people voting not aware of all this experience that you're claiming to have?
Because I didn't want this to be about all of me. I wanted it to be about the issues.
But shouldn't people know who they're voting for?
Yeah, and I've definitely made an effort that on my social media and people who want to engage with me can and find out more about me. All my posts have stuff that have got little tidbits about me, try to be fun, try to be personable. But at the end of the day, this is about what I can do for Saint Sport. And I want to focus on the future and what I can do for Saint Sport and how I can help Saint Sport. So that's what my manifesto has tried to focus on.
And looking at something else in your manifesto about performance sport culture, you have said, and I quote, It is not realistic or fair to force everyone to aspire to the highest levels of performance. Performance should not be every person's end goals. And I don't think anyone can dispute that forcing somebody to do anything is wrong. But surely, as AU president, one of your biggest mantras should be to ensure that people are aspiring to be the very best they can be and to continuously progress and to continuously improve. That statement suggests the opposite.
Not at all. What I'm saying there is not everyone engages in sport purely for competitive purposes. A lot of people engage in sport for recreational or just enjoyment. And actually, I remember a really great conversation with the triathlon club around the sports fair time when I was working with Lucy at the time, who's the president, and she was saying triathlon could and have been sort of asked if they'd like to go for performance sport in the past, and they've always said no, because actually it wouldn't benefit their members and it wouldn't benefit a lot of the people in their club. They have very specific individuals who are aiming for that and who are gunning for that, and they support them the best they can, but it's not suitable for everyone, and that's not what everyone wants from sport. And that was a really eye-opening experience at the sports fair, because my own sport, rowing, is a performance sport and is one of the best performance sports, and not just within state sport, but also in the UK. It's pushing at that top level. And I was really disheartened to see so many people refuse to go over to the rowing table because they were put off by this label of performance sport. And I agree, sport is about trying to be better and trying to excel. And that's why I love the motto, ever to excel. That is what we are trying to do. But that doesn't mean it has to be under a performance banner. It doesn't have to be measured in performance objectives. Getting better could be going to the gym twice a week instead of once. That's still a micro improvement, but it's not about performance. That's about personal development and personal growth. And that's what I'm trying to get out there, is that not everything needs to be measured in how many bucks points you get, how many competitions you win. Sometimes those measurements can be as simple as, I ran for an extra minute, I've gone an extra kilometre, I've gone to the gym once more. And that's what's important. And I think this focus on competition creates a really intimidating atmosphere that we need to start to break down and start to reconcile with the membership of Saint Sport.
But even with that massive rant, that little bit at the end, you've just really proven my point, saying that extra minute, that extra mile, whatever it may be, that's all about that continuous improvement. So you're just basically underlying what I was just saying.
No, not at all. What I'm saying is that the performance objectives that are competitive objectives aren't always compatible.
So let's talk about the previous president then, or sorry, the incumbent president, Sophie Tyler. Previous in a few months' time, what about her presidency, or what she's done in her presidency, would you seek to change or reverse?
Ooh, that's a really hard question, because I've worked quite closely with Sophie across the year, and I think she's done a fantastic job. I don't think I would want to reverse anything that Sophie's done, because I think she's worked incredibly hard, and I think a lot of clubs have seen the amount of effort she's put into opening up sport and making sure sport can carry on. I think for me, my focus would be building on the successes that she's had this year and taking them even further. For example, her successes in the committee forums that she's ran and club cross-club communication. I think that's something that we should really celebrate and keep bringing forward. I think her successes as well in setting up the sort of group with the equal opportunities committees and that sort of success should also be carried on forward and keep moving it forward so we can keep driving that change and driving that passion forward.
Okay, and what in your view makes you think that you're a better candidate than either Jess or Dylan?
I think my policies are a mix of both realistic and innovative. I think they're a good measure of both. And I think they are focused on effective change and winning where we can win. I've tried not to overpromise on anything and make sure that they are all realistic and can be achieved. That's something that I think is really important. And I think that the detail and the sort of analysis shows the sort of experience and the skills that I have to bring those policies to bear.
So let's forget sport for a second now. Let's talk about you. So obviously you are a very multifaceted character. I think anyone that meets you is very well aware of that. But just in your own words, describe yourself to me.
Oh gosh, driven. That's definite. Don't do things by half measures. I'm always all in. Passionate. What else? I think you hit the nail on the head. Multifaceted. There's so many strings to my bow, as it were, to mix metaphors of music and sport. But there's so many elements of things that I enjoy, and I think that's what makes a really good person and a great leader, is someone that can sort of draw on all these sort of experiences and all these different aspects of themselves and be that multifaceted person. So I think that's probably, that's a very hard question to answer.
That is the point. So how have you dealt with lockdown? Obviously, we had the lockdown last summer. We hope we were over that. We've now come into hopefully what will be the final lockdown. How have you been getting through that?
A lot of baking. I do love to bake. I've gone through a lot of peanut butter. That's probably one of my favourite baking tools. A lot of reading. Recently finished a really good book on sports psychology. That was really fun. And a lot of work for Scottish Rowing, Here for Sport, and Saint Sport. That's been what's kept me going. Sport is what I enjoy and what I'm passionate about. And so getting to work on these projects and support clubs, and not just at Saint Sport, but across the UK or across Scotland, that's been something that's been great and really helped me going to see how strong that community is and help that community.
Fantastic. Well, let's finish off with some quick fire questions. So first up, video games or board games?
Why not both?
Because that wasn't the question.
Okay, board games.
Okay, biggest sporting idol?
Catherine Granger.
If you could only eat one thing for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Peanut butter.
If you could get rid of one thing about St. Andrews, be that the town or the university, what would it be?
I'd build a train station.
Get rid of one thing, not add.
Get rid of. Well, I'd get rid of the lack of train station.
That's not an answer. Okay, we'll move on. What's your most treasured possession in the whole world?
My teddy bears.
Favourite film?
The Queen.
What's your go-to drink at the Union?
Oh, it has to be a blue Pablo.
If you had to pick one from being elected as AU president and achieving all your goals there, or achieving all your goals with Here for Sport, what would it be?
They're not incompatible goals. They're the same goals. So the AU president one.
Okay, not a fan of answering quickfire questions. Noted. Jess Smith or Dylan Clooney?
I've had the chance to work with Dylan, so I would say Dylan.
That's 2-0 to Dylan so far then. Sorry to say. Sum up what life within the AU will be like under your presidency in 3 words.
Change through sport.
Lovely stuff. Sam Winton, the very best of luck with the rest of your campaign and in the election. Thanks for your time.
Thank you very much, Josh.